Welcome to the Thabo Mbeki Foundation Model African Union Youth Debate. This is the first of its kind, so we are so happy that you've taken the time to join as we engage with young people. So the reason why we wanted to do this, as we all know, it is Youth Month. We just celebrated Youth Day. And as we think about how we can play our part as a foundation, we thought, what a lovely time for us to be able to engage with young people and get their views around some of the issues that we are facing in Africa. And particularly an issue that we felt so strongly about was amplifying the youth's voice. So today we're really here to say, young people, you have a voice. We recognize it and we appreciate it, and we would like to see it come forth in this debate. So the purpose of today and the reason why we're having this debate, like I said, is to amplify the youth's voice, but also for the youth to be able to see how challenging it could be to convince other countries, the whole process of negotiating and persuading countries so that we can have one voice. An African voice is quite challenging, and they get to experience that firsthand. I know as young people, we'll have to complain about our leaders and say, oh my goodness, they're not, giving us plans, they're not moving the continent forward. Well, we get to now have a chance to be those leaders and represent our countries. So we are having all the countries, 3 countries in the different regions represented in this debate. So we get to see and have a good sense of what each region feels and what are the views and their recommendations as we move the continent forward. It's going to be a lovely debate. Please enjoy. There's going to be robust engagement, questions. We've got passionate young people today who are going to be then sharing their insights around what can we do to take the continent forward from a youth perspective. So it's going to be a great time. Let me first just acknowledge our guest of honor. President Mbeki is here. Welcome, sir. It was his birthday, so we are also doing this in honor of the work that he has done. As we all know, he was very instrumental in making the AU what it is today. And we then saying we would like to take on the baton and shine a light and move forward. In the light of 1976 and what we are currently honoring during this month, for us is very important as young people to use this time to really soak in how the freedom that we have has been given to us through blood, sweat, and tears. So this moment for us is truly remarkable. It's the first of its kind. It's our first debate. So expect more from these young people who are joining us today, and really enjoy the debate. Now, I will be calling on my chairperson for the session to then start the debate. But before we start, can I ask us to have just 8 seconds of a moment of silence as we remember and honor and celebrate the life of President Kenneth Kaunda from Zambia. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now we would like to start the debate. Can I invite our chairperson, please?
Thank you so much, and thank you, Mr. President, for joining us today. We are all honored by your presence. Hello, delegates. I hope you're well. My name is Miranda Mbetsa, and I will be chairing the debate. I will now call this session of the Model African Union under the African Youth Commission to order. The topic we're discussing today is increasing the youth's involvement in leadership to propel Africa forward politically, economically, and socially. Before we begin, I would like to highlight a few rules which you should keep in mind in the session. If a delegate would like to speak, simply raise your hand using the raising hand feature in Zoom. You need to wait for approval by the chair, and then you will be able to speak. After you have spoken, please remember to lower your hand. For any questions unrelated to the topic of the debate, please make use of the comment section and leave your inquiries and comments in the chat. All delegates must be muted unless they are permitted by the chair to use the platform. I would like to remind you that the topic is increasing the youth's involvement in leadership to propel Africa forward politically, economically, and socially. We will now begin the formal session. Is there a motion in the House?
There is motion to move.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
I third the motion.
Okay. Delegates, I declare the debate officially opened. I would like to begin the roll call in alphabetical order. Once your country is addressed, please respond if you're going to be voting. If so, respond present and voting. The Republic of Algeria.
Present
And voting.
Thank you. The Republic of Angola.
Present and voting.
The Democratic Republic of Congo.
Present and voting.
Cameroon.
Present and voting.
Thank you. The Republic of Cote d'Ivoire.
Present and voting.
Thank you. Egypt.
Present and voting.
The Republic of Ethiopia.
Present and voting.
The Republic of Guinea.
Present and voting.
Thank you. Ghana.
Present and voting.
Morocco.
Present and voting.
Thank you. Nigeria.
Present and voting.
The Republic of South Africa.
Present and voting.
Tanzania.
Present and voting.
Uganda.
Present and voting.
And last but not least, the Republic of Zambia. Could the Republic... Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. We have now completed the roll call. At this time, I would like to ask if there is a motion in the House.
The delegation of Democratic Republic of Congo proposes a motion to go into an informal caucus.
Thank you. Is there a second?
The delegation of Angola proposes a motion of a formal caucus.
Thank you. Delegates, at this time, I would kindly ask you to split into your regional groups and relocate to your breakaway rooms to begin your discussions with your fellow delegates. You have been given 15 minutes. We will now proceed with the opening speeches. You will be asked to take the floor and present your speech in alphabetical order. Each delegate is presented with 3 minutes. Could the delegate of the Republic of Algeria please take the floor?
All around the world, we are seeing that youth are having an increased interest in societies, be it politically, socially, or economically. And we believe, as Algeria, that this should be encouraged. This is especially important in countries like Algeria and North Africa, due to the fact that 30% of our population is made up of the youth. And their involvement, therefore, becomes vital to moving forward. Why do we trust young people? We trust them because, from experience, we know that they can do this. This can be seen in the human rights movements from Algeria in the 1990s, where they pushed forward and moved human rights, and the youth and young people were at the forefront and beginning of this. And now we want to propel forward even more and hand the torch to the next generation so that they may move us forward even more. The interests, however, among Algerian youth have moved away from more conventional forms of activism, and they seem to be building their own paths and own models for how to be engaged and how to engage politically, socially, and economically. This can be through online or social media, and we believe that this should be encouraged, as this can do a lot of good for our future as a country. Youth in recent years have been faced with many problems, such as frustrating living conditions, having good educations yet not getting jobs, and a high urban crime rate. And their frustration is clearly visible. We can see this in the 2019 protests for youth-led movements for change, because we can see from this that the youth want to make changes. They want to improve their societies and their countries. And they are taking an interest in politics and economics and socialism because of this, because they want to see where they can go and how they can change. And so this is why we as Algeria see that it is vital to engage with youth, involve them in leadership roles in a constructive way, so that we can avoid these protests and so that we can allow them to instead engage in a constructive manner that would be better for both our country and them, and so that they may create the change that we need in this country. We have come a long way since the 1919 political movements. And the 2019 political movements moved us forward even more. And yet there's still a lot of room to go, and still a lot of places where we still need change. And this is why we move to have the youth more involved and to engage them on their level, so they may help in a constructive way where we can all come to an agreement and move forward for a better Algeria.
Thank you, Delegate of Algeria, for your opening speech. I would now like to ask the Delegate of the Republic of Angola to take the floor.
Good morning, fellow delegates. The delegation of Angola will not waste your time, because we all know that Angola is a country committed to justice, fairness, and equality. That is why we opened our doors to the youth of South Africa during the apartheid years. We therefore support the motion to increase young people's involvement in leadership, especially in the political sphere. Despite extensive oil and gas resources, diamonds rich agricultural land, Angola still remains poor. We as Angola rely on subsistence farming. This means, my fellow delegates, us as Angola, we are looking at the AFCFTA to benefit small-scale farmers, offers opportunities to the youth in agriculture. Looking at this with a social lens, a more equal society gives birth to a productive society. So let's empower our youth, who are the key in developing Africa. Like many countries, Angola has been disrupted by the pandemic, and we had to close all doors like other countries. The pandemic has destroyed all the countries, as I will not be getting into those further details. We as Angola have not been able to, like I said, despite extensive oil and gas resources, diamonds reached agriculture land, we as Angola still remain poor. So we do not have enough resources to make us a good country.
Thank you, Delegate of Angola. Could I please ask the Delegate of the Democratic Republic of Congo to take the floor? And please remember, delegates, to turn on your video feature when opening your speech. Thank you.
Good morning, fellow delegates. The Democratic Republic of Congo is a resilient country. We know how to fight, we know how to conquer, and we know how to overcome. We love our people, especially young people. We have ratified the AFCFTA, meaning we are looking forward to seeing Democratic Republic of Congo integrating with the continent. Not forgetting the 30th of June 1960, that's when Democratic Republic of Congo achieved its independence from Belgium. To add on that, delegates, mining is our strength. We would like to see this debate, talk, and discuss mining and it being further developed to attract and empower more of our youth. The rural economy is important as we are looking to empower our rural areas which are living under extreme poverty. Inequality underpins all social ills, crime, violence, corruption. Let's invest in our people, the young people especially. This way, their involvement will yield beneficial results for our country and other countries that are here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Congo. Could I please ask the Delegate of Cameroon to take the floor? And please can I remind the delegates, if you are comfortable, to turn on your camera. Thank you.
Greetings, Honourable Chair and fellow delegates. The Republic of Cameroon acknowledges the importance of youth involvement in the political, economic, and social spheres of our nation's governance because the people of Cameroon are suffering. The constant violence and political instability have given rise to amplified rebellions, and these rebellions are becoming increasingly destructive. It has come to our attention that these rebellions are in fact caused by the youth that is seeking reform and change within their country. During these times, we think it is crucial that the youth are involved in the crucial decisions of their country. This way, the changes that these youngsters aim to bring about through their violent demonstrations will be brought about peacefully, through a leadership position and involvement in the government and its various councils and ministries. As the delegates might be aware, the past year has been a difficult time for all of Africa, with the COVID-19 pandemic impacting our most vulnerable citizens. But Cameroon has suffered worse. The past year, starting from the beginning of the 2020 decade, has seen violence and suffering and innocent civilians losing their lives. These extreme conditions require change, and the most feasible option we see is to involve the youth in our leadership and engage with our people with an open mind and a wider perspective. Thus, we conclude that the solution to the extreme conditions of our country should be youth involvement. We need to give our youth the opportunity to express their opinions publicly without having to resort to violence, because violence has never been and will never be the solution. The change we wish to create will be implemented in the following 3 ways. Firstly, we have decided to balance the members of our parliament with younger ministers. This will curb our political instability. Secondly, we have decided to incorporate a youth council into our Ministry of Economy, Planning and Regional Development. Their purpose is to propose new opportunities for economic growth that will benefit the youth, seeing that they comprise the majority of our population. This is especially important because the violence has caused a significant decline in our economic standing. Lastly, we will replace the members of our social council with young leaders who may not have years of experience behind them, but do have their nation's best interests in mind for the future. Because as our respected president has said, we now need to look beyond our immediate future and aim higher and further. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Could I now please call the Delegate of the Republic of Cote d'Ivoire to the floor?
Good morning to the chairperson. Good morning to the chairperson and all the delegates present. As the delegate of Cote d'Ivoire, I support the increasing involvement of youth in leadership roles. A large amount of youth involvement programs has been introduced, although only a few allow major political discussions and decision-making. The expected 6.9% GDP for 2020 decreased massively and has still not managed to fully recover. As a country, Cote d'Ivoire requires new ideas and methods to recover economically, politically, and socially. Almost over 50% of the country's population is under the age of 30. The country's population majority consists of the youth. Their high rates of unemployment and encouraging young local entrepreneurs will make way for new opportunities. The creation of small businesses increases job opportunities, provides households with more spending power, and brings in more financial partners. These local businesses can also assist with providing better processed goods for the country to export and use. The youth is also looking forward to regional integration. There are 3 regional integrations in Africa, Côte d'Ivoire being part of Economic Community of West Africa Society. Many young people expect better trade, networks, and secure jobs to be introduced, as well as different markets, with the coming of the regional integration. The country has many natural goods that are exported. Recently, many youth groups have been having discussions on how to improve the trade networks and how to process the natural goods to make them more valuable. Many educated youths go through training in ICT before earning valuable positions in political situations. This knowledge must be put to use by contributing to political discussions as well as the decision-making process. Consideration of the young people's ideas can lead to something better. Education programs these days lecture about the different types of environments found in the country, how the economy works, inflation, and so much more. The courses offered educating such topics are usually almost filled to their capacity when able to afford. The interest and involvement is most definitely there. Registered small businesses owned by population under the age of 30 are researching important matters such as global warming, HIV, renewable electricity, and much more. This research helps create solutions for modern-day problems. The involvement of the youth not only creates job opportunities and means for education, but also helps create new helpful information regarding political and economic problems. Over the years, we have been seeing an increase in youth involvement, but also an increase in research, products, services, and many things that make the country better. As the West African regions, we think that although we do have many NGOs, we need a proper platform and stage for the youth to be able to express their voices. We also believe that regional integration will be a good way to uplift the economy and political aspects of the West African region. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of the Republic of Côte d'Ivoire. May I please ask the Delegate of Egypt to take the floor? Thank you.
Good morning, fellow delegates. Fellow delegates, Egypt is more than a place with the pyramids of Giza. We have passionate and brave young people. And when we think about the Arab Spring, it's when we talk about young people who are central to it. And we as a country are so much more than a tourist destination. Talking about the Arab Spring, which was a series of anti-government protests, uprisings, and armed rebellions that spread across much of the Arab world in early 2010. And it was led by young people who were fighting for better infrastructure so they could get jobs. It began in response to oppressive regimes and a low standard of living, starting with the protests in Tunisia. From Tunisia, the protests that then spread to 5 other countries, and the countries were Libya, Egypt, Yemen, Syria, and Bahrain, where either the ruler was disposed or major uprisings and social violence occurred, including riots, civil wars, or insurgencies. And there are some dates that Egyptians know by heart. There are July 26, 1952, which marks the overthrow of Egypt's last monarch. The second date is the October 6, 1973, which is the date of the country's attack to reclaim the Sinai Peninsula. And another date that can be added to the list is January 25, 2011, the first day of the anti-government protests that led to President Hosni Mubarak's resignation 18 days later. The former president, who was once an Egyptian military and political leader, Mubarak ruled Egypt for nearly 30 years, during which the country's population grew by 90% from 45 million to 85 million, according to UN estimates, despite concerted government campaigns to slow population growth. The demographic strength of Egypt is undeniable, not just in absolute numbers, but in its age distribution. Egypt is also experiencing a youth bulge, whereby 1 in 5 Egyptians is between ages 15 and 24, and 1/2 of the population is below 25, which is a powerful engine of renewal for the country. Egypt's economic growth has been strong and resilient since the economic reforms initiated in 2016. It is one of the few African countries expected to record a positive growth in 2020. At 3.6%, despite the adverse impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, the economy grew at a slower rate than in 2019 with a 5.6%, but did not enter a recession thanks to high domestic consumption. The tourism sector, which accounts for about 5.5% of GDP and 9.5% of employment, was shut down from mid-March to 1 July 2020. Despite pandemic-related expenditures and revenue shortfalls, the fiscal balance, excluding the cost of government debt, is expected to remain positive at 0.5% of GDP. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Delegate of Egypt. Could I now please call the Delegate of the Republic of Ethiopia to the floor? And please may I remind you all that if you are comfortable, could you please turn on the video feature? Thank you.
The youth is our future. Good morning, panel. As Delegate of Ethiopia, we support the motion. Firstly, I'd like to outline the current state of Ethiopia and that there is a conflict between the Tigrayan state as well as the rest of the Ethiopian Parliamentary Republic, with a concentration of massacres. This dispute erupted all on the refusal to recognize the 2020 Tigray parliamentary election. This conflict affects all aspects of social, political, and economical factors. Now moving on to my case. Firstly, when we speak on the social effects that the youth could have, we need to understand that social issues have been the backbone of Africa's suffering, and Ethiopian authorities are utilizing this as a weapon. How? With the use of rape, which is an example of gender-based violence. They have created the ideology that it is cleansing the bloodline, which is morally incorrect. Now, when we involve the youth, we need to first need to let the youth tackle and break down the issue behind this and what beliefs are behind it, as well as we need to they need to be vocal about it with their peers and have a vast individuals with a greater understanding, helping prevent the horrible terrors that could happen later on in the future. We need to then also implement a structure where the youth understand the health risks that occur with these type of issues, such as your sexual diseases, and that if it is known between everybody else, it allows everyone to have a clear understanding of it, as well as harsher legislative laws that can be put in place later on when the youth is in those parliamentary leadership roles in the future, so that harsher and stricter legislative laws are implemented to prevent this later on in life. And then when we speak of the economic impact that the youth could have, we separate this into two sections, which should first relate to skills development, and secondly, the startup of small businesses. When we speak of skill development, we then also break that down into two, which should then be based on agriculture as well as the understanding of the trade within the Western world. With agriculture, we see that in poorer states of Ethiopia, most of them depend off of the land. If we are able to develop their skills in terms of being able to work machinery, being able to plow the fields, we allow for improvement of workforce and more employment in these sectors, as more people will be employed to do these certain jobs. When we talk of our trade, it opens up a wider scale for trade in Ethiopia, as it has access to the Western world, as including Europe as well as the Middle East. which improves its trade, as well as when we look at the startup of small businesses, we understand that the economy right now is not in the correct space to support small businesses, but small businesses started by the youth and entrepreneurs can adapt to a system in which they allow themselves to sell products that are affordable to those in their region, to their target market, to those who are poorer or those who are richer. And also, when we look at our political state, we see that what makes the youth upset in terms of politics would relate to the policies and the legislative laws that are put into place, and that there is a social unrest between the two. We encourage the youth to go into peaceful protest. Why? Because they reach out on a wider worldwide scale and they achieve more. A rebellious and violent conflict or protest does not achieve much. Instead, it results in casualties and more injuries without much effect. So what we are trying to prove is that the youth is very essential in what we are trying to achieve, because they are the backbone of our Africa. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Delegate of Ethiopia, for your opening speech. I would now like to call the Delegate of Guinea to take the floor. Thank you.
As said by Cameroon, Africa has a wealth of opportunities. It is now time that African youths explore these possibilities. As the delegation of the Republic of Guinea, the youth could be a part of the solution to the challenges faced by African countries. We are prioritizing the share of the youth in oversight to propel Africa forward politically, economically, and socially. Our country faces the same problem of high youth unemployment rates that cause negative implications such as the delay of development in African countries. To deal with these problems, we have set a number of programs and foundations to better the youth. Most of our youth face ageism, nepotism, lack of representation in parliament, joblessness, and endocentrism. The FONAGEP Foundation increases youth representation and involvement in politics by engaging in one of the youth's biggest issues, education, increasing the diversity and political development of Guinea with political education. The support program for the socio-economic integration of the Guinean youth, INTEGRA, that enables economic opportunities for the youth by supporting entrepreneurship and creating jobs. ICT helping increase employability of 15,000 young people and creating over 3,000 jobs. The Stepping Up Skills project that includes training, internships, and personalized support for businesses of young members, which is estimated to reach over 20,000 young people, 2,800 unemployed graduates, and 18,000 in pre-service training. Support from the World Bank and other training programs with access to finance increase youth members in economics while helping small businesses. There is just such a lack of opportunities given to youth members and a voice to the communities. Youth members are more represented in protests and social movements than in the country's development sectors. As seen by these big movements, the young people mobilize common goals, thereby common issues, which is why our country is implicating these initiatives so young people mobilize common goals for the good of the country. We may not have engaged with the whole population of youth members, but we're slowly gravitating to that. But good things do take time. We will propel Africa forward by increasing the youth's share in oversight, politically, economically, and socially. Merci de votre attention, meaning thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Delegate of Guinea. I would like to now ask the Delegate of Ghana to please take the floor.
Akwaba. Good morning, Mr. President and all other delegates. The phrase youth involvement basically means incorporating young people in the discussions and decision-making of matters which directly affect them. And to this end, I share my support of this notion as the Republic of Ghana aligns itself with the notion of increasing the youth's involvement in leadership and governance. According to the United Nations Development Programme report, youth is defined as the age between 15 and 24 years. The 1992 Constitution of Ghana also defines the youth as anyone who is acknowledged by deeds as identifying with and committed to youth development. The Western region of Africa is struggling with relatively high unemployment rates, with Nigeria having one of the highest in Africa at about 53.3%, and relatively high numbers of people in population below the poverty line. Creating employment opportunities for the youth remains a dilemma for policymakers. In many cases, policies and programs to tackle youth unemployment have produced little results because such initiatives have failed to consider some fundamental inputs. In Ghana, youth unemployment rate has doubled or more than doubled the national average unemployment rate in recent years. Similar to many other developing countries in Africa, treatment of mental illnesses in Ghana is low, and we continue to rely on institutional care. In Ghana, it is roughly estimated that at least 2.8 million people are suffering from moderate to severe mental disorders, and only 1.17% of these people receive treatment from public hospitals because only 3.4% of the total public health budget is dedicated to psychiatric hospitals. The rise of mental illnesses in Ghana has posed a large problem as members of the society are no longer happy and smiling. This means that work is not able to be done as effectively as before. It does not help that we do not have a governing national or regional mental health body. In Ghanaian politics, the youth may be given big opportunities, but most of the time this is just used to amplify their support for older candidates. Until we take control and take up these leadership positions ourselves, change is not certain. A step to increase youth involvement in politics has already been taken by the main opposition party in Ghana, the National Democratic Congress, which has no age limit or barrier for determining who is a member of the party's youth wing. The voting age in Ghana is 18 years, while the age at which one qualifies to be a member of the parliament is 21 years. This gives the youth a bigger platform to express their needs and wants and make impacts that positively affect their society. The Mental Health Act of 2012 states that its overall aims are to ensure the rights and quality of persons with mental disorder and to stipulate changes to the organization, provision and funding of mental health services. This policy defines a vision for the future, which in turn helps to establish benchmarks for the prevention, treatment, and rehabilitation of mental disorders and the promotion of mental health in the community. To tackle youth unemployment, we as the West African region need to create an environment that enables the building of skills and the creation of jobs. Private firms must actively invest in finding and rewarding the young people who will be their workers, suppliers, and customers. Countries in Africa should endeavor to grow dynamic and vibrant domestic investors. We should correct structural deficits through policies and programs that promote linkages between local SMEs. Ghanaian youth need to begin to take leadership roles in the parliament, as this gives us the opportunity to have a hand in rules being made. We can become the change we want to see by taking up leadership roles in the government, as there are already policies in place for us to become a part of the parliament at such a young age. All we need to do is take the opportunity. By taking leadership roles in the healthcare sector, we can promote vibrant, positive workplaces, which in turn will be advantageous for the mental health of many Ghanaians. Taking these leadership roles will not only help the society, but also reduce the rate of unemployment as more jobs will be created. Implementing these policies and increasing our involvement in leadership roles will propel Africa forward economically, politically, and socially. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Ghana, for your opening speech. I would now like to ask the Delegate of Morocco to please take the floor. Thank you.
Honorable Chair and fellow delegates, the Kingdom of Morocco recognizes the importance of increasing the youth's involvement in influential leadership positions for the survival of Africa. This is evidenced by the fundamental political and democratic right, as stated in Article 33 of the Constitution of Morocco of 2011. Morocco aims to remedy historical evidence of limited opportunities for youth to participate in leadership positions. The Consultative Council of Youth and of Associative Action is created to this effect. As of today, the Moroccan youth make up approximately 30% of the country's total population, which is 11.1 million. This demonstrates the importance of Moroccan youth participating in formal political processes and having a say in shaping the country's current and future policies. Currently, the generation gap between the African leadership and its population is above 40 years. This is an impediment to the objectives of the African Union, which states young Africans should be provided opportunities to serve and gain professional experience, soft skills, social competence, internal exposure, and leadership skills. Youth participation in politics is critical for establishing stable and peaceful communities and implementing policies that address the demands of younger generations. The strength of our African economies lies in the human resources of young people. Morocco commits to increase and facilitate investment in markets and trade infrastructure by accelerating agricultural growth and production levels as agreed in the Malabo Declaration of 2014. Morocco intends to enhance economic inclusion by establishing public and private sector partnerships to promote young people's participation in workforce development and programs where students will acquire employability skills. With over 10 million political participation, such as mental health and petty crimes. Morocco concludes that the solution should be that the youth need to be given a voice to authentically engage in their civic power to achieve effective and inclusive governance systems that reflect the will of the people. The essential task is to find reasonable and justifiable ways to increase youth involvement in leadership positions and amplify their voices so that Morocco may play its part in propelling Africa forward, politically, economically, and socially. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Delegate of Morocco. May I please ask the Delegate of Nigeria to take the floor?
Honorable Chair and fellow delegates, the Republic of Nigeria comprehends the significance of the youth involvement in its major political, social, and economic issues. We as a nation take this topic into thoughtful consideration as the youth comprise around 43% of our population. In October 2020, a massive event shook Nigeria's social fabric and as a result, the rest of Africa. In Nigeria, images and videos of police brutality went viral. These images and videos depicted Nigerians being subjected to widespread violence, harassment, and extortion. As a result, the EndSARS hashtag quickly gained popularity on social media platforms such as Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Young people demanded justice for Nigerians. The historic but unfortunate Lekki protests occurred as a result of young people banding together on social media. It sent a message to Nigeria about the critical nature of youth involvement in social issues and the fact that without youth, a country would implode. This message is one that Nigeria knew of, but the EndSARS protest served as a serious reminder of the power and importance of youth involvement in serious issues. The Republic of Nigeria believes that youth involvement in leadership is integral to the success of the nation. As the delegates are probably aware, the Republic of Nigeria has the continent's most endowed economy. It began implementing a youth empowerment program aimed at poverty alleviation in Nigeria, including sub-programs aimed at fighting the social and socio-economic challenges which have been raised by our youths. These include programs such as the Green Revolution, Better Life for Rural Women, Operation Feed One Nation, as well as the Family Economic Advancement Program. We have also made strides in our economy, where more than 24% of the country's GDP derives from the agricultural sector, including profitable crops such as cassava, maize, and rice throughout Africa, as well as on a large international scale. Our agricultural sector employs approximately 36% of our country's registered labor force, and therefore is our largest employing sector. Although it has recently been calculated in a study that most of our farming population is around 47 years old, which to many might pose the question whether our youth are involved in such practices. Despite our heavy emphasis in refined skill sets in our farming methods, leading to an older generation taking significant space in our agricultural sector, we will make progressive strides to ensure that at least 31% of our agricultural sector employs youths, where leading farmers with decades of experience will offer a training period of 3 months before employing them into the field. The Republic of Nigeria is fully aware that the country should lay a stronger emphasis on the youth's voices, which challenge some of the recent government's political responses and policies. We would like to pledge to our citizens and the other member states of the African Union that we will respond peacefully and patiently to the voices of complaint and dedicate ourselves for the improvement of our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Nigeria. Could I please ask the Delegate of the Republic of South Africa to take the floor? Thank you.
Fellow delegates, respected chairs, and esteemed President, The reality is that there is no future to look forward to or to continuously work towards if there is no youth. So why exclude the youth itself in the paving of our continent's imminent prosperity? South Africa believes that increasing youth involvement in the leadership will propel Africa forward politically, economically, and socially. That is why our country has made youth development a priority. From 2009 to 2019, we had the National Youth Economic Empowerment Strategy and Implementation Framework with the goal of mainstreaming youth in the South African economy. And now we have the National Youth Policy, which was released with the aim of accelerating positive youth development outcomes in the country in the years 2020 to 2030. The youth will show up if it is molded into the leaders we wish to leave our country in the hands of. And to inspire more involvement in leadership and politics, South Africa proposes that we increase nationalism throughout the continent, that we educate learners and Africa's greatest leaders, and to speak more outwardly and passionately on the exciting direction the continent is heading towards. I call to all nations of this beautiful continent to engage in these solutions and to join South Africa in prioritizing the youth of this continent. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Delegate of South Africa. Could I please ask the Delegate of Tanzania to take the floor? Thank you.
Honorable Chair and fellow delegates, the United Republic of Tanzania recognizes the youth's involvement in African leadership as an important discussion to be had. Not only is youth the future of every nation, for Africa with a median age of 19.7 as of 2020, its youth is its people. As such, all developments across this continent will affect our youth. The United Republic of Tanzania would also like to remind its fellow delegates why we are here. The African Union is an organization with the purpose of reviving Pan-Africanism and instilling prosperity throughout Africa. Yet, as I sit amongst you all today, I fear that we've strayed off that path. Among the 54 nations on this continent, only 9 have officialized an African language. Our 2 strongest economies have an unemployment rate of over 30%. My fellow delegate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, how many of your youth led protests every day? How many of your youth have lost hope in their corrupt government? How many of your youth dream of the nation Nigeria once was? My fellow delegate of the DRC, your country has the most natural and unique resources on this planet. Yet, instead of great prosperity, you're split apart by internal and external conflicts. My fellow delegate of the Republic of South Africa, how many of your youth remember our role in your fight against apartheid? How many of your youth know that Nelson Mandela's first nationality was that of the United Republic of Tanzania? And now we hear stories of xenophobic attacks on your fellow Africans who look to your country as a place of refuge and opportunity. My fellow delegates, we cannot talk about involving youth in leading this continent when they do not know its history, when they are taught to play second fiddle to Asia and the West, when we compete for favoritism from the so-called First World. My fellow delegates, I believe that it's beyond time that we create a true Pan-African Africa. We must reconnect our nations, re-educate our peoples, and restore our future as a continent. Without the necessary regulations and infrastructures, advancements like the African Free Trade Agreement will only benefit the global monopolies such as Google, Amazon, Alibaba, and Microsoft. And thus, the United Republic of Tanzania proposes heavy restrictions on trade and foreign aid from outside of the AU, the creation of a uniform railway system across Africa for trade and public transport, a reformed Pan-African education system across all of Africa, Kiswahili, the official language of the African Union, to be a mandatory second language across Africa, more investment into African-born technologies and social media platforms, and finally, a unified African currency. These changes will, in no doubt, bring our nations and thus our youth closer and restore hope and excitement for our future leaders. As the late Julius Nyerere, one of the founders of the original Organization of African Unity, said, "Unity will not make us rich, but it can make it difficult for Africa and the African peoples to be disregarded and humiliated. And it will therefore increase the effectiveness of the decisions we make and try to implement for our development." My generation led Africa to political freedom. The current generation of leaders and peoples of Africa must pick up the flickering torch of African freedom, refuel it with their enthusiasm and determination, and carry it forward. My fellow delegates, it is only through true unity that our youth may carry on the torch his generation has passed down to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Tanzania. Could I please call forth the Delegate of Uganda to take the floor?
Honorable Chair and fellow delegates, the Republic of Uganda is not just the country that I, as the delegate of the nation, take native pride in, but it is also the nation that other countries applaud for our emphasis on national youth inclusion. Uganda is the home for roughly 35 million citizens under the age of 30, meaning that 70% of the population falls within the youth bracket. Various platforms have been established for young Ugandans from as early as 1988, including the Ugandan National Students Association, the National Youth Council, and the Youth Livelihood Program. Uganda is known for being a benchmark on how other nations can include young individuals into their national systems. The Republic of Uganda employs approximately 65% of the working population in the agriculture sector alone, and of which the youth make up 63% of this. The very construction of Uganda's independence in 1962 was led by our former president Obote, who at the young age of 37 years was placed in power for our country. As many of our systems have been progressively constructed for our youth, I, as the delegate of Uganda, can undoubtedly state that we spearhead the African Union's Agenda 2063 Youth Development Goal. As noted previously, Uganda has provided many opportunities for youth participation, including the National Parliament, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Gender, Labour, and Social Development. These incredible platforms are put in place to engage discussions on policy issues in the social, economic, and political context, and in the future should be taken into account in a larger context reaching further throughout the African continent. A well-recognized platform that our country has also established for the youth is the UN Association Orientation. In order to prepare the youth for such engagements, Uganda too has formed multiple youth programs where delivering speeches, taking part in panel discussions, and consultation sessions are had. Through these systems, Uganda is pushing forward in its efforts to prioritize the involvement of next generations. And not to mention, the youth in Uganda are the second largest voting bracket in the country, which highlights the reality that the youth themselves are also reciprocating the same energy and prioritizing their engagement with the state of their country. Uganda will aim to make larger strides in addressing the concerns that the people have with the nation with the reign of the government, ensuring a more stable social, political, and economic community. For the future of Uganda, we will act to further refine the quality of democracy and to lend an ear to young individuals which seek to expand our core value system. We pledge our assistance in further youth program creation to imprint our nation's progress throughout the African continent. Additionally, we would like to further expand our efforts to increase our economy by raising our national budget for the agricultural sector, augmenting our employment rate. And through this employment increase, the youth will then be given a sense of purpose and validation, reducing crime, mental health issues, and substance abuse. Once said by Daisuke Ikeda, history has always been shaped by the power of the youth. And so because of this, African education systems need to teach the youth and adapt to the African narrative, enabling relevant skills to be used as tools to conquer our contemporary challenges and construct our futuristic Africa.
Thank you, Delegate of Uganda. Can I please call the Delegate of Zambia to take the floor?
Good morning, fellow delegates. As you may have known, we are in mourning. Bearing in mind the passing of President Kenneth Kaunda, guided by Zambia's first steps towards independence, many eyes have looked at us to describe democracy. We are now unsure. Remembering the year 1975, Tanzam Railway opened, providing a link between the column, reducing Zambian dependence on Rhodesia and South Africa. As you may know, the economy of Zambia fell into deep recession due to the adverse impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Real GDP contracted by an estimated 4.9% in 2020, after growing by 4.0% in 2018 and 1.9%. Output contraction is the result of an unprecedented deterioration, in mind that we just lost our president. Economic growth, therefore, is central to us. Growth, any growth, requires us to empower youth. Late Kenneth Kaunda was a great leader. He formed the UNIP, United National Independence Party, to campaign for independence in Zambia and dissolution of federation dominated by white-ruled Southern Rhodesia. As we work towards peace and reconciliation throughout Africa, we aim to amplify what we have. First, for our first solution, we further recall for unity and consolidation among African youth. With that being said, thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Zambia, for your speech. Thank you, delegates, for all your opening speeches. Is there a motion in the House?
Chairperson, motion to go into a formal caucus, please.
Thank you. Is there a second?
The Delegate of Nigeria seconds the motion.
Thank you very much. I will now entertain the motion of the Moderated Caucus. At this time, the caucus will be used for delegates to make a statement in regard to the questions and inquiries you have based on the previous opening speeches. I will now open a speakers list and would like all the delegates to please raise their hand so I can place their names on the speakers list. Thank you, delegates, for your patience. We have now completed the speakers list. I will now close the speakers list. Delegates, I will ask you to take the floor in alphabetical order. You will be given 1 to 2 minutes to give your statement. Could the delegate of Algeria please take the floor?
Delegate of Algeria present.
Thank you. Could the delegate of Algeria please proceed with their statement? Delegate, I know that you have had some technical difficulties. I would like to rephrase that you will be given 1 to 2 minutes to make your statement or response.
Algeria stands to implement many of the policies provided before anything and thinks it should be voted on.
Thank you, Delegate of Algeria. Could the Delegate of Angola please take the floor? Thank you.
In order to create In order to create a better future for young people starts by creating institutions we can trust and education that we can trust. We talk about the fourth industrial revolution, where children don't have water and learn in run-down schools. Let's be practical in our approach. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Delegate. Could I please call the Delegate of the Democratic Republic of Congo to the floor?
I, as the delegation of Democratic Republic of Congo, would like to assert that war is expensive. Above money, war displaces people. We must, in this session, commit to empowering the youth, get them to have tolerance, to be compassionate, so we have leaders who going to war is the last option too. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Delegate. Could the Delegate of Cameroon please take the floor?
We live in the 21st century, a time and era of development and advancing social change. During these times, as Cameroon, we believe it is crucial for the youth to be represented adequately within their nation, because never before have so many young people been involved in movements for change, and have never before young people wanted voluntarily to help improve the state of their country, which is why we believe that youth involvement should in fact be encouraged.
Thank you so much, Delegate. Could the Delegate of Côte d'Ivoire please take the stand?
As the Delegate of Côte d'Ivoire, we are aware of previous civil wars that affected Côte d'Ivoire's economy. We're aware of the increasing youth involvement, and we're alarmed by the decreasing GDP. Our stand is that we support regional integration. We support small businesses that come up with solutions to modern problems and come up with research that help us. We acknowledge the amount of protests that are happening by youth that are creating a change, as what happens in our country affects the youth. And we support, as the Delegate of Côte d'Ivoire, we support the notion of the further involvement of youth in leadership roles. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Delegate of Côte d'Ivoire. Could I please ask the Delegate of Egypt to make a statement? If you would like to respond to a statement a fellow delegate made in their opening speech, or have a inquiry to make, please do so. Could the Delegate of Egypt please take the floor?
There are issues such as crime, poverty, violence, and gender-based violence that cannot continue to thrive. Please, let's work together to put a stop on these. The social structure regarding crime in Egypt is moderate, but still occurs in various forms, and the types of crimes include drug trafficking, money laundering, fraud, corruption, and attack. Crimes include crime, smuggling, black marketing, and other economic crimes like embezzlement, tax invasions, kickbacks, and bribery, which increased when Anwar al-Sadat and Hosni Mubarak are still the presidents of Egypt. Fellow delegates, we need to make sure that our young people cannot be lured into crime. And the key to this is education. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Delegate. I see that the Delegate of South Africa has a question. You may speak.
My question will be directed to Uganda. You mentioned that your country includes and represents its youth. Your most recent elections led to a politically motivated murder and media censorship, mainly used by the youth to speak up on the political stances in your country. and to Tanzania on the issues of xenophobia in South Africa, an estimated 2.9 million migrants resided in South Africa at mid-year in 2020. South Africa, being the most industrialized economy in the region, happens to be a particularly attractive destination for youth members who are in search of education and better opportunities. This makes it quite obvious that our nation is supportive and welcoming to not only our youth, but to Africa's youth body as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Would the Delegate of Ghana like to respond?
I wasn't asked a question, but I have a question for the Republic, the Delegate of Uganda.
Sorry, can I write a reply to South Africa before?
Yes, the right of reply approved.
The question was concerning the killing that happened during the recent protest. And I think you asked about the involvement of the youth, and Uganda's strength is actually the involvement of the youth, and the killing or the murdering had nothing to do with the prioritization of, had nothing to do with the youth not being involved. If anything, the youth is the active drives of the political stance in Uganda, but it's just maybe the government doesn't prioritize certain protection. Same way in how South Africa, your government hasn't prioritized gender-based violence and how it killed the youth member Uyinene in 2019. And I think if both countries learn how to prioritize, and I think it's a very stereotypical question to ask if in your nation there is also lack of protection from murders, from gender-based violence, farm killings, and also xenophobia.
Thank you, Delegate of Uganda. Would the Delegate of Ghana like to make does the Delegate of Uganda, the Delegate of Ghana have a question?
Yes, I do. For the Delegate of Uganda, you mentioned that youths are very involved in your politics, but the President of Uganda has been president since 1986, which does not give the youth the opportunity to take up leadership roles in politics, such as being president. So how do you think, that can work out?
Right of reply, Chair. So I think you're on mute. Okay, I'm just going to reply. So yes, the current president has been in ruling for roughly 35 years now. And you asked, how does that affect the youth? The youth, obviously, that provides an age gap. But if you actually look in the current occurrences of what the youth are doing, the youth has formed various organizations and platforms where they've actually partnered with certain external organizations to write petitions to try to see how they can help enable and give power to them. But concerning the ruling of President Museveni, all of his elections have actually been done through voting systems, and concerning whether they have been trusted or not, just to verify the stability of the voting system, we actually asked the Trusted African Union to send in their observers, and they made a statement saying that no major issues or disruptions have occurred in the voting system. So yes, he's been ruling for that long, but we've had various East African observers and African Union observers to investigate the situation, and they declared a statement saying that no incidents have disrupted that. And the youth are continuing to use their organizations and platforms to make a call for help from external nations.
Thank you, Delegate. And thank you, Delegate of Ghana. May you please lower your hands. For the Delegate of the Republic of Tanzania and the Delegate of Nigeria, could you please proceed with your inquiries in your statements? I will continue with the list of countries. Could the Delegate of the Republic of Ghana please make their opening statement?
As the delegate of Ghana, I believe, and also the citizens of Ghana believe that to make Africa a better place, we all need to work together as citizens of the continent. And that can only be done if youth have leadership roles, and every country has a particular number of youth that can make important decisions to move their countries forward, because as African countries, we all have very important resources, and we can only make the best of our continent if we all work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of the Republic of Ghana. I will now proceed and ask the Delegate of South Africa to please make a statement. Thank you.
I would like to pass. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Could I please ask the Delegate of Uganda to make their statement, or does the Delegate of Uganda want to withdraw?
Is this also the opportunity to ask questions or just a statement?
This is the opportunity to ask questions and to make a statement. The Delegate of Uganda has the right to choose either one. Thank you.
May I choose the right of a question to the Delegate of Ghana? Ghana mentioned that there are no mental health programs, and as known that mental health issues are extremely prevalent within the youth bracket. And so I want to ask, since you said that you prioritize youth members, but if anything, that's one of the issues that are breaking them down, what procedures have you put in place? And looking at your government as well, you mentioned that the legal age is 18, but your national age for consent to sexual intercourse is 16, which actually opens windows for sexual assault, which opens windows for rape. And it's because the 16-year-old is not yet seen as a legal adult, since you mentioned in your speech that the age is 18, giving the ages between 16 and 17 no freedom to speak. So as those are occurring issues that are happening within the youth, how do you plan on solving those concerning their mental health? Unlike Uganda, we've actually established something called the Ugandan Youth Livelihood Program, where we prioritize issues that affect the youth, including their mental health, sexual violence, and so forth.
Right to reply.
The Delegate of Ghana is given one more right of reply. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Uganda. I understand your questions, and the age for youth in Ghana is from 15 and above, which means 16-year-olds are seen as youth. But there have been many petitions to increase the age of consent to 18, which makes more sense because then you are actually an adult. And that is work in progress, so it will be changed. And then I think, may you please repeat your other question?
The Delegate of Ghana is asking for a point of clarification. Does the Delegate of the Republic of Uganda want to respond?
Yes, sorry, so I'll clarify the question about prioritizing mental health issues. As mentioned before, mental health issues is a large concern to the youth. And in your opening speech, you mentioned that there are currently no mental health programs. So I wanted to ask, what is the procedure going forward with that, and how do you reassure your youth members of Ghana?
So there is now a Mental Health Act. It was written in 2012, and there are no public hospitals there are no governing bodies for mental health, but there are public hospitals and psychiatric hospitals. There is a part of the budget that is dedicated to that, but we are trying to increase the amount of money that is given to psychiatric hospitals because of how large the mental health problems are getting in Ghana now.
Thank you, Delegate. Could I please ask the Delegate of Nigeria to make their statement?
According to a recent analysis and study, primary data was gathered from a sample of 200 unemployed youth respondents and found that youth in Ghana had a lack of interest and passion for agriculture. This furthers the issue of land access challenges and financial challenges. How does Ghana aim to encourage youth participation when the opportunity is available? For Tanzania, according to a summary report created by the British Council in 2016, it was found that youth in Tanzania are disillusioned with problems of corruption, nepotism, and lack of employment opportunities, making them less optimistic and less satisfied with the government. Furthermore, Tanzania severely suffers from severe financial insecurity, severe unemployment, corruption, ill health, and a lack of capital to start businesses. Although you state that you want to unite Africa, not in doubt a noble goal, how does Tanzania aim to unite and satisfy its own people? Furthermore, COVID-19 has only exacerbated the issues with enterprises, businesses, and youth opportunities and gender-based violence in Tanzania. Women experienced early marriages and children are not even safe in schools where they are meant to learn and unite. How does Tanzania aim to unite Africa if it cannot unite its own youth?
Thank you, Delegate of Nigeria. Does the Delegate of Ghana like to be granted one more right of reply?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
So the Delegate of Nigeria asked the question about youth and agriculture. And the reply is, of course, agriculture is important to the development of any nation, Ghana being no exception. And with this, we do have a program, policy, strategy, and sustainability for youth in agriculture. There is the Youth in Agriculture Program, the YIAP, and we have many different ways of sustainability. We have the Youth in Agriculture Program. The different components are to have crops and block farms, livestock and poultry, of course. And in that, we are all driven basically by the demand for healthy fish in Ghana and inadequate domestic fish production. And so we're working towards having proper fish production, healthy fish, having healthy livestock and agribusiness.
Thank you. Does the Delegate of Nigeria want to make a response, or can I move the opening statement to the Delegate of Algeria?
I've passed, thank you.
Can I invoke my right to reply?
Thank you. Can the Delegate Algeria please make their statement?
I have a question for the Delegate of South Africa. It is no secret that South Africa is a country at war with itself. And in your opening speech, you mentioned that the government of South Africa is doing, the government of South Africa has initiated a number of programs in order to support the youth, but yet nothing is being seen due to corruption. What is South Africa willing to do to stop corruption and to benefit the youth?
Does the Delegate of South Africa want to respond?
Yes. Corruption in Africa is an issue for many nations, and especially with South Africa's history of apartheid, the transition has been a bit rocky. But through our investments in the youth now, we do hope for a better future with no corruption. But unfortunately, this is something that we have to go through, and it will pass through our ongoing investment in the youth for better politicians and a future that has no corruption. Thank you.
Thank you. Would the Delegate of Algeria like to respond?
No, thank you.
We acknowledge that within Algeria there has been corruption, but as there is in many places, we have been working towards improving and bettering this so that in the future there will be less so of this, and possibly so that we can eradicate this. And we would be doing this by doing more checks, making sure everything is in order so that there is less room for corruption to be viable.
Thank you, Delegate of Algeria. Does the Delegate of Tanzania want to make their statement or want to issue a right of reply?
I would like to issue a right of reply to the Delegate of Nigeria. You have challenged Tanzania's stability economically, and I would like to respond to that by saying that in recent times, Tanzania has in fact become a middle-income country under the stewardship of the late John Magufuli. Furthermore, with the current corona crisis, which has seen many countries across the globe have their economies crash, Tanzania, who initially was mocked for their response to the pandemic, has retrospectively had one of the best responses to this virus in terms of its own needs, as it has seen its own country as a low risk due to its high youth and high population of youth, and therefore has had a low mortality rate and has managed to in fact save thousands by maintaining and continuing to grow their economy and GDP. Meanwhile, other countries are suffering economic related crises, and therefore the pandemic has become more of an issue of survivability due to poverty instead of the actual virus, which is not a problem in Tanzania. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before I ask the Delegate of Nigeria whether they would like to issue a right of reply, I see that the Republic of Ghana, the Delegate of Ghana, has their hand raised. Could the Delegate of Ghana please inquire about why their hand is raised? Thank you.
I have a question for the Republic of Angola. During your opening speech, you mentioned mainly agriculture, and as agriculture is one of the biggest sectors for Africa, that may not be enough to propel us forward socially, economically, and politically. So I just have a few questions about what else Angola can do to make sure Africa becomes a bigger, place for business.
Does the Delegate of Angola want to issue a right of reply?
Will pass. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Angola. I have noticed that the Delegate of Nigeria has inquired about a right of reply previously. Does the Delegate of Nigeria still want to issue the right of reply to Tanzania?
No, I'll pass. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. So I will proceed with the Delegate of Uganda. Does the Delegate of Uganda want to make a statement or issue a right of reply?
Sorry, the Delegate of Uganda would like to ask a question.
Please proceed.
So the Delegate of South Africa tried to challenge Uganda, asking about how we've prioritized our youth concerning some of the political challenges that have happened during the election period. And as mentioned before, Uganda's various Ugandan organizations and programs have partnered up with various and external organizations, including the UN Association, in which they're trying to make an action forward to address the protection of the citizens. But I want to ask South Africa a question on apartheid ended in 1994, and yet it seems like some of the issues have not only been carried on, but I don't know if they are getting addressed. And a recent statement has been released by the ENCA News, claiming that white people in South Africa have 72% of the land, while the Black Africans only have 4% of the land. And in your response, you try to mention that we are making investments forward to try recover from the pain that has happened in apartheid, but it is now in 2021, and in the illustration of your land ownership, it seems as though no investment has been made in trying to bring equality and equity to the people who have been oppressed, including the youth.
Thank you, Delegate. Does the Delegate of South Africa want to issue a right of reply?
Yes, South Africa will not focus on land ownership in terms of trying to empower the youth. We focus on other areas that we find more effective for our future. And through education, we can create and invest more into the farming, etc. So.
Thank you. Does the Delegate of Uganda want to issue a right of reply?
Yes, please. Thank you. You said that you would like to prioritize education and ensuring how employment can occur from that. But like mentioned from various other delegates, that agriculture is surely a competitive advantage that Africa has. So if you're trying to achieve employment, but not prioritizing agriculture, which is one of our competitive advantages, do you think that employment will be increased without using the land of South Africa?
Does the Delegate of South Africa want to respond?
Yes. So apartheid was had a really huge impact on our country. As you said, and many people have mentioned, that a lot of African countries even had to assist with it. So it is not going to change over a few years, and land ownership is still in the process of being sorted out. But right now, we will focus on educating people and also involving our youth, including freedom of speech, which your country does not have so much of. I did mention that there was censorship during your elections and you did not respond to that. So if you could also elaborate on that.
Thank you, Delegate. I would like to ask the Delegate of Uganda to respond, but before, I would like to also mention, if any countries want to issue a right of reply or ask a question, please feel free to raise your hand. Thank you.
Thank you, a right of reply. Yes, so the censorship that occurred within the nation is just, I think, is a reality that not only Uganda suffers from, but many African countries suffer from, in terms of corruption that is involved in the government. And of course, if certain people have power, depending on how much money they have or so forth, obviously certain things can be almost allowed due to the corruption. And I think South Africa can definitely relate to corruption and the occurrences of Nkandla that Zuma had built, and the involvement of the Guptas, who aren't even African members, they're not even a part of the continent. I do think corruption and allowing power to just rule the nation without the involvement of the actual people in the nation is not an issue that just Uganda struggles with, including South Africa as well. And I think it's definitely a challenge that all of the African countries need to learn how to solve and conquer.
Thank you. Before I ask the Delegate of South Africa to respond, I see that the Delegate of Angola and Algeria have raised their hands. So I will proceed with the Delegate of Algeria according to alphabetical order. Please make your statement. Thank you.
I have a question for the Delegate of Nigeria. What does Nigeria have to say about the rumors that have been spread around that Nigerians kidnapping the youth of different African countries and selling them to Nigeria to act as slaves?
Does the Delegate of Nigeria want to make a response?
To the Delegate of Algeria, thank you for your question. To these rumors, if they have not been verified and they're simply floating around. I simply have no response to that. I would have to say that, unfortunately, these may, I have not heard of these rumors, and unfortunately, if they're not verified, I cannot really make a statement on it. However, I would say that it's very unfortunate, and that's something that Nigeria would have to work on. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. I would also like to ask the delegate of Algeria, this is verified and not some rumors. Algeria has a very large youth population with very, very few opportunities. There are extremely few jobs available for the youth, and youth are not able to actually participate in their societies. I would like to ask what the delegate of Algeria have to do to combat this problem.
Would the delegate
to reply?
Want a right of reply?
Yes. We, as Algeria, would like to say that in our very first opening speech, we mentioned that this was one of the biggest issues we would be working to improve on, and we would be doing this by trying to implement more jobs and getting more business startups as well as more small business, so that youth may be able to use their resources and their educations to get jobs and benefit the whole country.
Thank you very much. Would the other delegate of Algeria want to issue a response? I see you have raised your hand.
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I will now proceed with the delegate of Angola who has raised their hand previously, and then I will approach all the delegates who have recently raised their hand for response. Thank you. Could the delegate of Angola please make their statement?
To answer the question that was asked before, we have signed the AFCFTA, meaning we are committed to building the economy of Africa. For Angola, we are hoping to see agriculture play a prominent role in those discussions. I have a question that I would love to ask the Democratic Republic of Congo. Why is that Congo claims to help the youth but is always having wars in their country?
Would the delegate of Congo want to issue a right of reply? Delegate of Congo, would you like to issue a reply?
Okay, it's on the laptop.
I'm so sorry about that. Can the other delegates please answer first, and then I'll be the last one.
Okay, that's fine. Could I please ask the delegate of Cote d'Ivoire to make their statement? Thank you. And please remember to lower your hand once you have spoken. Thank you.
As the delegate of Cote d'Ivoire, I have a question for the delegate of Cameroon. So in 2020, there were many attacks and raids and killings and broken down of properties, destruction, and violently many peaceful protests were broken up. This has a really bad effect on the youth, and what is Cameroon doing to prevent another happening like this?
This sort of violence is exactly what Cameroon...
Sorry, would the delegate of Cameroon like to issue a right of reply?
Yes, please. My apologies.
No worries.
This sort of violence is exactly what Cameroon is aiming to fight at the moment, which is why we believe that the youth's integration in leadership positions will actually be able to settle down this sort of violence, because the form of expression that the youth aim to bring about through violence will be able to be brought about through peaceful methods where they can lead their people in an organized fashion and prevent any violence that occurs.
Thank you, delegate of Cameroon. Would the delegate of Cote d'Ivoire issue a response?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you, delegate. I will now proceed with the Delegate of Morocco. Please make your statement or right of reply.
As the Delegate of Morocco, I have a question for the Delegate of Nigeria. Although the youth in Nigeria face many challenges, urban youth in major cities or Delta states have access to more opportunities than those in the north. How does Nigeria hope to assist those youths in being instrumental in ending the conflict in the north and creating an inclusive economy in this resource-rich region?
Thank you, Delegate. Would the Delegate of Nigeria issue a response?
I'm very sorry, there were internet connections, problems with internet connections. Could you please repeat your question, Morocco?
Could the Delegate of Morocco please repeat their question? Thank you.
Although the youth in Nigeria face many challenges, urban youth in major cities or Delta states have access to more opportunities than those in the north. How does Nigeria hope to assist those youths in being instrumental in ending the conflict in the north and creating an inclusive economy in this resource-rich region?
Thank you, Delegate.
Right of reply.
A right of reply accepted.
Fellow Delegate Morocco, thank you for your question. The situation in the north with the youth is very, very unfortunate. However, as we have seen with the recent events with End SARS and the Twitter ban currently that has happened in Nigeria, youth in Nigeria social media does not necessarily just consist of Twitter. There are many options for youth in Nigeria to make their voices heard and to participate and help Nigeria, further Nigeria in many aspects. Although these situations do occur, although Nigeria has not had the best regarding the North, there are opportunities for the youth in the North to actually voice their opinions. They also have other opportunities, as well as the many non-governmental organizations provided for them to voice their opinions. We are still working on that, as I have mentioned in my speech. However, we must also not forget that many movements in Nigeria, many of the movements, as I said before, the End SARS movements, had a large majority stationed on Instagram, Facebook, and that contributed to the uprising that occurred in Nigeria. The Nigerian youth is formidable, powerful, and resilient. During apartheid, Nigerian youth played a large role in supporting the struggle. It's in the forefront of many objections to silence. And as Malala Yousafzai had said, that we only realize the importance of our voices only when we are silenced. So there are opportunities for Morocco, for Nigerians in the North. Thank you.
Right, so we almost time we should start with the Unmoderated Caucus. However, I would like to give the Delegate of the Republic of Tanzania a last chance to make an inquiry or statement. Thank you.
Thank you. My fellow delegates, I would like to remind us that we are gathered here today to discuss the regeneration of our continent. And so I would ask that we cease the ongoing bickering we've had for the past hour or so and think towards the possible many solutions to regenerate this continent. In my opening speech, I made several proposals. The heavy restrictions on trade and foreign aid from outside the AU in order to allow a level playing field and sustain a true Pan-African relationship amongst us, as well as the creation of a uniform railway system across Africa for trade and public transport, a reformed Pan-African education system across all of Africa, Kiswahili, the official language of the African Union, to be a mandatory second language across Africa, and more investment into African-born technologies and social media platforms. And finally, a unified African currency. I believe that these solutions will help us solve all these local issues we've been bickering about and place Africa on the global map as one of the powerhouses on this planet. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Delegate of Tanzania. We are going to give one more opportunity to the Delegate of Congo, who has mentioned that they would like to speak before we move to the breakaway session. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I would like to reply to the delegation of Angola. As we mentioned, yes, war is expensive, and I would like to emphasize that as Congo, we believe tolerance and compassion are ideals we should impart in our youth so we don't go into wars.
Thank you so much, Delegate. I will now entertain or proceed to an unmoderated caucus, where you will return to your regional groups in your breakaway room to finalize your working documents and to complete your resolution. You will be given roughly 15 to 20 minutes, and once the time has passed, you will share the resolutions with Pimile. Once you are done, please choose one representative delegate who will read your region's resolution paper. Thank you very much. I would like to briefly inform the audience that the delegates will be gone for 20 minutes and will return to the main commission after that. Thank you. Delegates, I would kindly like to ask you to please return from your breakaway rooms. Thank you. Hello, delegates, welcome back. Thank you. We will now proceed to reading the resolutions. Each of you in your different regional groups will have one representative delegate who will read the resolution to us. Could I please ask the delegate of the Northern African region to please present their resolution? I would like to give our audience and our delegates one more minute to join the commission and return. And then I will ask the delegate of the Northern region to please present us with their resolution. Thank you. Thank you, delegates. I see that you've all returned. Welcome back. I would like to remind you that you should choose one person as your representative delegate to read your resolution for each of the regions or regional groups you've been placed in. Could I please ask the delegate of the Northern region to read the resolution?
Reminding all nations about the deep concern of the slow progress and wavering commitment to the implementation of Africa 2063 Agenda and the UN Agenda of 2030 for Sustainable Development and ratification and implementation of the African Youth Charter. Reaffirming its resolutions, which commits to the implementation of Africa 2063 Agenda and the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and ramifications of the implementation of the Youth Charter, noting the growing seriousness of youth disenfranchisement and growing civic action amongst the youth, which results in events such as the Arab Spring. Stressing the fact that it is crucial to create a socio-economical and politically stable environment within our African states. that is inclusive and facilitates youth participation and inclusion, as well as contribution. Furthermore, once again, reminding nations of the struggle many young people find in looking for work, as well as other economical issues they face, and the implementation of the NYES, which strives towards providing preferential treatment to youth-owned businesses to encourage youth involvement so that more youth may be able to start businesses and bring more jobs to themselves as well as other citizens of their countries. Furthermore, reaffirming our resolve towards ensuring through deliberate and targeted public transport that all segments of our population, particularly the youth and other disadvantaged sectors of our society, must participate and directly benefit from the growth and transformation opportunities to improve our lives and livelihoods. Noting the absence of leadership roles provided to the youth and the CULG youth program, which strives towards and focuses on sports and other youth programs administered by the youth for the youth in order to improve their involvement in policies and communities as well as in their own leadership roles. Further stressing the fact the NYP and its implementations which act towards integrating youth involvement into a broader spectrum and bringing them into the mainstream government policies, programs, and national budget, so they may be prioritized when we are making policies and implementing future plans and structures.
Thank you, Delegate of Algeria. I would like to clarify that all delegates will now be asked to move to a motion of voting procedure. However, I would like to clarify that a resolution with the highest number of votes will be the winning document, so please keep that in mind. You will have the right to vote for or against this resolution, so please vote wisely. I will now ask, is there a motion to vote on this resolution?
There is a motion to move.
Is there a second?
There is a second.
Thank you. So, all of those in favor of voting for this amendment, please use your hand using the raising hand feature. I would like to repeat that all delegates who are for this amendment, please raise your hand using the raising hand feature. Please give me a second while I tally up the votes. Thank you. All right, so we have 4 votes for this resolution, including that both delegates of Algeria are seen as one. We will now move to the voting procedure of those who want to vote against this amendment. Remember, you cannot repeat your vote, meaning that if you have voted for this amendment, you cannot vote against it again. So I would like to please ask all delegates who vote against this amendment to raise their hand. Sorry, the resolution. Thank you. A friendly reminder that all delegates who vote against this amendment, please raise their hand. Most of you have in the opening concluded that you will be present and voting, so I would like to see all delegates please voting. Thank you. All right, thank you for your votes. I will now ask the delegate of the East African region to please present their resolution. Before, I would just like to mention, due to time's sake, the rest of the regions will please read the resolution after one another, and then once we have finished, we will move to voting procedure on the rest of the 3 resolutions. Thank you. And also, I'd like to note that once we get to the voting stage, you can vote for more than one resolution the resolution paper with the highest number of votes will be the winning document. Thank you. So I will now ask the representative delegate of the East African region to please present their resolution. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The East African Community, also known as the EAC, has a unifying legacy of prioritizing Africanism, seen in Ethiopia's history of never being colonized, Julius Nyerere, the former president of Tanzania, being a part of the development of the OAU, and Uganda's history of being one of the first independent African countries. The EAC would like to make a larger strides in marking our Africanism through the rest of the continent, reaching Pan-Africanism. Once said by Julius Nyerere, Africa cannot grow through nationalism, but through Pan-Africanism. The first solution, Pan-African education systems. Currently, our youth system of education is a westernized, meaning that their view on history does not go in depth with our own ancestral history. We need to implement a Pan-African approach to our education that is more focused on African needs and our culture. Number 2, Kiswahili to be the mandatory second official language across the AU. Language is an important factor of culture and belonging. Having a shared African language across our continent will ensure African pride and prepare the youth for a future of opportunity in Africa. Kiswahili was chosen as it is already the official language of the AU. Number 3, uniformed railway systems across Africa. With the Africa Free Trade Agreement, Africa needs the necessary infrastructure to benefit from it. Having a continental railway system will facilitate transportation of trade and the displacement of African people across the continent. Number 4, unified African currency. Various African states' economies depend on the currency of Western or European nations. We as Africans need to grow our independence and develop our own currencies. Through learning from colonial rule, we were broken down through division, but now we should choose to grow through unity. A unifying African currency will strengthen our economic independence, promoting a better standard of living for all Africans. Number 5, a no visa policy within the African Union. Africa's current nation borders were developed by the colonial rule, and today modern Africa still follows these colonial structures. In the heart of Pan-Africanism, Africa must realize that there is power in Ubuntu, and having a no visa policy will encourage our nations to support each other through the international relations, essentially growing the continent together. Number 6, investment in Pan-African social media and online platforms. Social media today was generally designed by the Western region of the world, yet we have not adapted a Pan-African perspective in which our own individualized aspects to fit in the African use. More of the culture aspects of Africa must be shared. Education of different roles and genders in our continent, which include the right to freedom of speech without infringing on our beliefs. And number 7, restrictions on foreign aid and trade outside of the African Union. With the current unequal economic distribution across the continent, foreign influence will only further destabilize our unity as it has done historically before. As such, it is imperative that we reduce the foreign influence through the trade and foreign aid and this continent and work together a more stable and unified Africa. These listed goals and resolutions are to not only build individual states and countries, but to develop our African continent as a whole. We as Africans must prioritize Ubuntu and implement this value system within our social, economic, and political systems, building a brighter future.
Thank you very much, Delegate of Uganda, for your resolution. Could I please ask the representative delegate of the West African region to please present their resolution? Thank you.
I'm the delegate of Côte d'Ivoire representing the West African Youth Commission. Our sponsors would be United States, United Kingdom, and BRICS. Our signatories are Nigeria, Ghana, and Cote d'Ivoire. We would like to remind all nations of the past oppressions against West Africa. Also reminding all nations of the poverty in West Africa, for which we will call upon developed countries to help support poverty. We are alarmed by the rates of high unemployment, and we would like to introduce small businesses for the creation of jobs. We're fully aware of the low rates of education and the amount of illiterate people who are struggling to get jobs. We will introduce a better education program. We're fully aware of undermining the youth, and we will provide the youth with more opportunities, as well as designate a platform for the youth to express their opinions and their ideas. We are alarmed by food insecurity, and therefore we will form more agricultural programs to teach the youth about agriculture, which is one of the main natural resources in West Africa. We are alarmed by GBV, and therefore we will introduce better security throughout the country. We're also alarmed by the amount of violence used in West African countries and around Africa, and therefore we would like to introduce better security and a better influence to the society to stop this violence. We would like to be independent from foreign intervention and be able to analyze our problems by ourselves as a country. We would like to export better processed goods, therefore getting our economy to be more valuable and be a better economy. We would like to introduce regional integration for better trade, especially free trade across Africa. And we will allow the youth to influence the population, as the youth is the vast majority of our population and is more able to influence the population at large. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Delegate. I would now like to ask the representative delegate of the Central and Southern African region to please present us with their resolution. Thank you.
I am the delegate of Cameroon, and on behalf of Central Africa, this is the resolution we propose. We remind all nations of the existence of the African Union Youth Council, which advocates for the importance of youth involvement in leadership positions. But secondly, approving the Universal Declaration of Human Rights as well as the UN's Human Rights Council, which will help to combat the human rights violation and the exploitation we see evident in Central African countries. And thirdly, noting with satisfaction the UN's Economic and Social Council, which will help to propel the economic growth of Central Africa. We call upon the countries with more economic stability, like South Africa and Uganda, to provide some finance for the youth to develop the economic sector in the Central African regions. We encourage the use of political education in all African schools to increase participation of youth members in parliament for fair and sustainable policies and decrease of youth apathy. We draw the attention to the increase in social movements that lead to delay in development, as a result of which youth employment is important to decrease the violence accompanied by social movements. We demand that young people be recognized in all spheres of governance, and we reaffirm that young people have the capacity and are willing to be active participants in governing systems. Finally, we request mentorship from older generations that will guide the youth and their political education. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Delegate. Could we please have the representative delegate of the Southern African region present us with their resolution? Thank you.
Number 1, recalling the National Youth Development Agency Act 54 of 2008 aims to provide for the establishment of the National Youth Development Agency aimed creating and promoting coordination in youth development matters. Secondly, bearing in mind a better economic by recalling for unity and consolidation among youth, for example, promoting peace. Number 3, noting that education is a major movement in the country This can be done through reinforcement of national identity and values in the hearts of the youth, as well as raising political awareness in schools. Number 4, demanding that African states addresses corruption and bring perpetrators to book. Number 5, requesting that African states allocate resources to empower the youth. Number 6, stress to importance of economic empowerment through heavy policies geared for young businesses owners or entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Delegate. We will now have a motion to move to the voting procedure. I will begin once more with the resolution of the Northern African region. I will go through your country's names, and you will say either you are voting for or against this resolution. I will begin with the Delegate of the Republic of Algeria. Just a reminder for the delegates to please use their microphone and please mention for or against. Thank you. For. Thank you. The Delegate of the Republic of Angola.
Yes.
Sorry, was that a for?
Yes. For.
Thank you. The Delegate of the Democratic Republic of Congo.
For.
The Delegate of Cameroon.
For.
The Delegate of the Republic of Cote d'Ivoire.
For.
The Delegate of Egypt. The Delegate of Egypt.
For.
Thank you. Just a reminder that we are voting on the resolution of the Northern African region, the resolution which was presented firstly. Thank you. The Delegate of the Republic of Ethiopia.
For.
The Delegate of the Republic of Guinea.
For.
The Delegate of the Republic of Ghana.
For.
Delegates, I just want to clarify, is everyone voting for this resolution? This was the first resolution we discussed, which was the resolution from the North African region who presented their amendments first. I have recounted the votes now, and I'm restarting the voting procedure. Previously, there were 4 votes for that resolution and 7 votes against. So I just want to clarify that you're all aware that we're voting on the first resolution, not all of them at the same time. The Delegate of Ghana.
Against.
Against. Morocco. For. Delegate of Morocco. For. The Delegate of Nigeria.
Against.
The Delegate of the Republic of South Africa.
Against.
The Delegate of Tanzania.
Against.
The Delegate of Uganda.
Against.
The Delegate of Zambia. The Delegate of Zambia.
Against.
Thank you. Okay, so there has been a motion to revote due to some of the confusion caused. Is there a seconder?
I second the motion.
Okay, thank you. We will now begin the re-vote for the resolution of the North African region. May I please remind you that once again that this is the resolution of the first resolution which has been presented to us by the delegates of the North African region. So I would like to remind you that you can either vote for or against this resolution. I will start beginning the roll call again. I would like to start with the delegate of Algeria. For. The delegate of Angola.
Against.
The delegate of the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Against.
Thank you. The delegate of Cameroon.
For.
The delegate of the Republic of Cote d'Ivoire.
Against.
Thank you. The delegate of Egypt.
Yes, 4.
Thank you. The delegate of the Republic of Ethiopia.
Yes, 4.
Apologies, I heard two voices at the same time. May I repeat? The delegate of the Republic of Ethiopia.
Against.
Thank you. The delegate of the Republic of Guinea. The delegate of the Republic of Guinea.
For.
Thank you. The delegate of Ghana.
Against.
The delegate of Morocco.
For.
The delegate of Nigeria.
Against.
The delegate of the Republic of South Africa.
Against.
The delegate of Tanzania.
Against.
The delegate of Uganda.
Against.
The delegate of the Republic of Zambia.
Against.
Thank you very much. I will take a brief moment to tally up the vote. Thank you very much for your patience, and I apologize for the lack of clarification on the voting of the resolution. I would like to now proceed to the voting of the resolution of the East African region. Please remember this was the second resolution which has been represented by the delegate, and we will vote for and against. As I mentioned previously, we will announce the results after we have finished all our votes, and then I will proceed to announce which document is the winning document. Thank you. So I'd like you all to vote on the East African region's resolution. I will go according to the list once more and call your country, so please respond with a for and against. Algeria. For. The Republic of Angola.
Against.
The Democratic Republic of Congo.
Against.
Cameroon.
For.
Republic of Cote d'Ivoire.
Against.
The Delegate of Egypt.
Against.
The Delegate of Ethiopia.
For.
The Delegate of Guinea.
For.
The Delegate of Ghana.
Against.
The Delegate of Morocco.
Against.
The Delegate of Nigeria.
For.
The Delegate of the Republic of South Africa.
For.
The Delegate of Tanzania.
For.
The Delegate of Zambia.
Against.
Against. Thank you. Please give me a moment.
Sorry, I didn't get to vote.
My apologies, Delegate of Uganda.
4.
4. Thank you very much. We will now proceed with the voting procedure for the resolution of the West African region. The Delegate of Algeria. Against. The Delegate of Angola.
Against.
The Delegate of the Democratic Republic of Congo.
4.
The Delegate of Cameroon.
4.
The Delegate of the Republic of Cote d'Ivoire.
4.
The Delegate of Egypt.
Against.
Against. For some who might inquire, we're voting on the resolution of the West African region. Could the delegate please remind me which delegate I have just called for voting?
Egypt.
Egypt. Thank you. The Delegate of Ethiopia.
Against.
Against. The Delegate of the Republic of Guinea.
Against.
The Delegate of Ghana.
4.
The Delegate of Morocco.
Against.
The Delegate of Nigeria.
4.
The Delegate of the Republic of South Africa.
Against.
The Delegate of Tanzania.
Against.
The Delegate of Uganda.
Against.
The Delegate of Zambia.
Against.
Thank you. Please give me a moment while I tally up the votes. We will now move to the voting procedure for the Central African region. For Algeria. 4. The Republic of Angola.
Against.
Against. The Republic of the Democratic Republic of Congo.
4.
4. The Republic of, Cameroon.
4.
4. The Republic of Cote d'Ivoire.
4.
4. Egypt. Could the Delegate of Egypt please place their vote?
4.
Thank you.
4.
Thank you. The Delegate of Ethiopia.
Against.
The Delegate of Guinea.
4.
The Delegate of Ghana.
4.
The Delegate of Morocco.
4.
The Delegate of Nigeria.
Against.
The Delegate of South Africa.
Against.
Against. The Delegate of Tanzania.
Against.
The Delegate of Uganda.
Against.
The Delegate of Zambia.
4.
4. Thank you. Please give me a moment. Delegates, we will now move to the voting procedure of our last and final resolution, which is a resolution of the Southern African region. Algeria.
Against.
Angola.
4.
The Democratic Republic of Congo.
4.
Cameroon.
Against.
Côte d'Ivoire.
Against.
Egypt.
4.
The Republic of Ethiopia.
4.
The Republic of Guinea.
Against.
The Republic of, Ghana.
Against.
Against. Morocco.
Against.
Nigeria.
Again, oh, 4. Sorry, I got mixed up. 4.
No worries. South Africa.
4.
4. Tanzania.
4.
4. Uganda.
4.
4. Zambia.
4.
4. Delegates, I would like to ask you to please give me 2 minutes to finish up tallying the votes, and then I will come back to you and list the winning document. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome back. I would like to announce the debates. Tied in third place, we have the resolution of the North African region and the resolution of the West African region. Tied for second place, we have the resolution of the East African region and the resolution of the Southern African region. And I would like to send out a huge congratulations to the resolution of the Central African region. You have won in majority with 9 votes for and 6 against. So congratulations. We would now like to proceed and have a motion to close the debate. I officially declare the debate adjourned. I would like to thank all delegates for participating in today's African Youth Commission. As chair, I would like to commend you all on your great efforts, and I think that you have all made this debate a very wonderful experience. I would like to now hand the floor to our project coordinator, Pindile. Thank you very much, and Ms. Muhlatse Tsian from the foundation will close the program for us with a vote of thanks. Thank you again, everyone, for your participation.
Thank you so much, Chair, for that session. I think it was Thank you so much, Chair, for that. Now, every year, the Thabo Mbeki Foundation honors Youth Day by creating a platform or a series of dialogues. Last year, we had entrepreneurs come into dialogue. In fact, we launched a Buy a Brick campaign with them. For those who don't know what the Buy a Brick campaign is, it's a crowdfunding campaign for the Thabo Mbeki Presidential Library. I urge all delegates to visit our social media pages and the website to learn more about the Presidential Library and, of course, the crowdfunding campaign. Like I said in the beginning, this is our very first Model African Union debate. And the African Union was founded in 2002, 9th of July. And President Mbeki, serving as the inaugural chairperson, declared that the time has come that Africa must take a rightful place in global affairs. Indeed, we agree. And today just showed that young people are eager, willing to take up space and discuss African affairs. So I would like to now invite our patron of the Thabo Mbeki Foundation, our former president of the country, and the person that we are honoring today and saying happy birthday to him for his 79th birthday, to come onto this platform to give us feedback on this debate. President Mbeki.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Mutlatsi. Let me join. I want to join you first of all to thank our chairperson, Miranda, who has done very well indeed. But secondly, to thank all of the participants, the delegates. We've now been at it for 3.5 hours. From 10 o'clock, it's now 1:30. I'm very, very glad that we had that stamina to stay through this and handle it as well as we did. And congratulations indeed to everybody. But I must say that I was also impressed with the way that all the delegates paid a lot of attention to understanding the various countries which they represented. I think that is very good for us that we indeed make a very serious effort to understand our continent. And I think that what the delegates have done is exactly that, to do all of the necessary work to, as I say, to understand the continent. I could hear what people were saying about each of the countries, that indeed work had gone into this. It's important. It's important because too many of our people here in South Africa are not sufficiently conscious of the fact that we are part of an African continent. That indeed our destiny as a country is very well tied up with the destiny of the continent as a whole. But I think in terms of, I don't know what the briefing was to the delegates. I thought people tended to act as though they were representing the governments of the various countries, and spoke on behalf, as it were, of the governments of the various countries. But I'm saying I don't know what briefing we got, because if we said represent this particular country, it does not mean represent the government of that country. You see, for instance, if you take just one matter of the cuff, as it were, if you take the question of Cameroon, Cameroon, as all of us would know, has a very, very serious problem. A very serious problem which arises from its historical development, because it brought together two colonies. One had been a French colony, the other one had been a British colony. So to even today, therefore, you will have one part of Cameroon which is French-speaking, another part which is English-speaking. And now the English-speaking part has been complaining that it's marginalized by the majority French-speaking part. And so that is why you then even have some movements in Cameroon which have taken up arms. They've taken up arms against the government, and some of them are demanding secession of this English-speaking part of Cameroon. Now, I'm saying therefore that the delegate for Cameroon, our understanding is that we're a delegate of Cameroon, not a delegate of the government of Cameroon, then that kind of reflection of the state of the nation, would include elements like that. But I think we have made a very good start in terms of that understanding. But I'm saying that I think in future we maybe need to discuss that that when we mandate people and we say you must be a delegate for Cameroon, to be clear about that, what kind of delegate is this? Are we saying a delegate for the country? A delegate as though you are the government representing this country. It would help people in their preparations. In that context, I must say that obviously, it would be good as we prepare as representatives of these countries to engage the diplomatic corps in the country. Because as you know, South Africa has got a very, very strong diplomatic corps. Many countries on the continent are represented in Pretoria. So that would be a resource that we would use in terms of gaining an understanding of the countries that would represent. But of course, bear in mind that ambassadors, these diplomats, represent governments. So in terms of their briefing, they would brief you in terms of what the government they represent says. But nevertheless, I'm saying that they would be an important resource. Now, I must say that I got a little bit confused as we were going along. In a sense, my position is close to the position of the delegate of the United Republic of Tanzania. Because the topic said increasing the youth's involvement in leadership to propel Africa forward politically, economically, and socially. So my understanding of this was that we are talking as from these different as delegates from these different African countries to say, what is the continent doing to position the youth so that the youth are able to propel the continent forward politically, economically, and socially. What is the continent doing to position the youth so that the youth propel Africa forward politically, economically, socially? So you'll recall that our delegate from Tanzania at some point said he was intervening for, I think, for the second time or something. He said that what we're about, I'm looking for that comment. He said we are engaging one another in pursuit of the objective of the regeneration of the continent. And so you see that the position that they put, then you see it then in the resolution that is proposed by the East African region. The East African region makes a proposal they do about Pan-Africanism, about this Pan-African agenda, about education, about Kiswahili, about a uniform railway system, about currency, about no visa, about all of these things. It's because they understood the challenge to be that we're engaging one another to assess the matter of what is it that needs to be done to increase the youth's involvement in leadership. Leadership on the continent, not leadership in the individual countries. Because the objective is to propel Africa forward. So that's why our delegate from Tanzania then said, well, look, we're meeting here to talk about the regeneration of Africa, to propel Africa forward, politically, socially, economically, and so on. But most of our delegates then spoke about their individual countries. And even the second session, when people were asking questions of one another, again, it was focused more on what's happening in individual countries rather than what is happening on the continent. Now, the question of youth leadership to propel Africa forward is important. One of the things, for instance, that they should have been raised in the context of that thing of youth leadership to propel Africa forward is the ECOSOC of the African Union. I'm not talking about the ECOSOC of the United Nations. It's something, one of our delegates spoke about the ECOSOC of the UN, or at least I thought it was the UN, but I'm talking about the ECOSOC of the AU. The reason I'm mentioning that is because the ECOSOC of the AU is the body which provides for the participation of the civil society on the continent in the affairs of the African Union. So the General Assembly, as it were, the General Assembly of African civil society in the context of the African Union is the ECOSOC. Now that is where the youth movements, would be represented to make a very direct impact on what happens in the continent politically, socially, economically. That's one point of entry. We're talking about propelling Africa forward. The matter was mentioned by some of the delegates of the Youth Charter. Again, you see, I think we should have paid more attention to that Youth Charter of the AU, because that represents African policy, which is approved by all of the member states of the African Union, and therefore gives the youth movement on the continent a point of entry. We don't have to, and we can go to any government in the country and to say, you people, you approved at the AU this youth policy. And the youth policy says this and that. All of the matters that we are raising here about what needs to happen with the youth are in that youth chart. Therefore, to say as a youth to have to any government that's a member state of the African Union, this is agreed policy of the continent. What are you doing about it? So, but I'm saying that, you see, that was what I got a bit confused as to whether the mandate given to the delegates was there is this topic about increasing youth by youth involvement in leadership and but tell us what your country is doing about that. If that was the mandate, then indeed the delegates did very well. But I'm saying that there was this other point of view which was saying, no, we're not meeting in order to do that. We're meeting in order to talk about the regeneration of Africa under this with the youth leadership playing a critical role in terms of propelling Africa forward towards its regeneration. Now, maybe the second last thing I'd like to say is I think the work that the delegates have done, it raises a very important point that I think our processes of this kind should enable us to be able to identify certain issues that need discussion among ourselves, even in order to reach a common understanding. Let me just give one example of this. It's part of this thing I'm trying to say that it's very, very good that we're making an effort to understand our own continent. Now, let me just mention one example in that respect. There was an issue that was raised quite correctly about the land question in South Africa. And one of the delegates raised this issue and said, South Africa, what are you saying about this? Because it's part of the apartheid legacy and all that. What are you doing about that? And made the observation which everybody has made correctly again about the importance of agriculture on our continent. Because indeed, in the majority of our countries, we've got populations that are rural, and the rural agricultural economy is critical in terms of that regeneration of the African continent. But you see, in order to let's understand the South African issue in its own specific context, one of the peculiarities about South Africa is that it does not have that feature. Yes, indeed, agriculture is this important thing generally around the continent. But if you take the contribution of agriculture in South Africa to the national wealth, the gross domestic product, and the contribution of agriculture will be here in South Africa would be something like 2 or 2.5% of the total economy. It's a very small part in terms of the generation of new wealth. It's a very small part of the South African economy. It's not the same as in Zimbabwe or other countries. And therefore, when we approach the land issue in South Africa, certainly in terms of agriculture, we must take that into account. You see, if you take the population, for instance, the population of South Africa is more than 80% urban. In many other countries on the continent, the numbers will be the reverse. But there you've got this very big, high level of urbanization, because what's happened here is that you've had 300 years of land dispossession, of people being pushed out. So they lose for instance, there would be a great difference in the passion about land between the South Africans, Black South Africans, and Black Zimbabweans. Zimbabweans will be very, very passionate about land and agriculture and all of that. But the South Africans, many Black South Africans, don't have that kind of passion because of the disconnection from the land over many centuries. So I'm saying that you have a population in South Africa that is largely urban. And I'm quite certain that if you said to many of these urbanized South Africans, from Soweto or Langa or KwaMashu or wherever, Atteridgeville, if you said to them, look, go back and farm, they wouldn't. This is an urban population, it's got nothing to do with agriculture. So I'm saying that we might, therefore, to understand these specificities properly, so during the course of our discussion, I think certain matters pop up like this, which mean that the chairperson and the Mutlatsi and other people would be able to identify these issues, to be able to say, well, why don't we follow up on this particular matter, just as part of our general education? The matters raised by our delegate from Tanzania about what is it that when we talk about the regeneration of Africa as young people and talk about the unity of the continent, what are these things that need to be done? I think that's an important question, which unfortunately was not discussed because I think the briefing about what we are about in this discussion was different. But the points he was raising, when I'm talking about propelling Africa forward, politically, economically, socially, we would have to discuss the matters that the candidate, the delegate of Tanzania raised. To propel Africa forward politically, socially, we need to, what about this language question? What about the currency issue? What about the physical infrastructure? Can I get in onto a train and travel between here to Ghana? Can I move goods like that? Or is it by road and all of that? These are very important questions in terms of propelling Africa forward. But I'm saying that the discussion pops up, it raises these various things so that the organizers must be able to say, look, there were various matters that were raised. which are important, and we need them for general education, and maybe communicate to all of us afterwards to say, with regard to the matter that was raised like this is our view, etc. I think that would be an important part of all of this. Now, the last thing I must say is, of course, we are all, most of us here, South African. And sometimes when I saw when we're asking one another questions, particularly asking the South African delegate questions, I thought we're going to start a discussion among ourselves as South Africans, forgetting that we are not South African. We are representing various countries. But I think it's something that we need to bear in mind in future. But otherwise, the last thing I'd want to say, the chairperson indeed has said that the resolution put forward by our colleagues from Central Africa is the one that has succeeded. That's a very interesting result, because it would be very good to understand why. Why is that? What is the particular strength of that resolution from Central Africa as opposed to the others? I don't know if that question can be answered by anybody. Because again, it would help us. It would help us in terms of this better understanding of, as young people, as the youth, what is it do we think about ourselves as a youth and the role of our leadership as leaders, the ones we're talking about as leaders. What is it that really we want to do? What's our focus? What's our direction? And the outcome of the voting is that no, that question is answered in the resolution that came from Central Africa. But is that the case? That's a matter I think we should discuss, because it may very well be that if we're talking about propelling Africa forward, politically, economically, socially, if that's our focus, then we ask all of these, then ask ourselves, the draft resolution from North Africa, does it help us to propel Africa forward? East Africa, for each of the regions. And it may very well be that I think if we ask ourselves that question, the vote about which one of the five is the best in terms of propelling Africa forward would probably be the East African one. It would probably be the East Africa resolution, but in the end, Chairperson and Mutlatsi, I think we would have to put all of these things together, even if we're going to put a little document together. Don't throw away the other resolutions which were not successful in the votes, but to keep them as part of that, because this is part of our own education as to what do we do as young people. But in the end, I think it will be very, very good that we recorded this, because I think it must help us in terms of reaching out to the youth, to engage the youth, particularly in these challenges. What does the youth do? What leadership can it provide, which will propel our continent forward, and therefore propel the member states of that continent forward? But the critical question is propelling Africa forward. But I think we've done very well, and thank you very much. And I'm sure people must be hungry by now. It's lunchtime. But thanks a lot. Mutlatsi, I've handed over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'll just be short and sweet. I just want to say thank you to all the participants who participated today. We really appreciate the hard work and effort you guys put into it. As Mr. President said, we are all learning and you guys did an outstanding job. To our patron, President, thank you so much. You are a well of knowledge. Thank you for continuously sharing your knowledge with us. We're so excited that we get to engage with you on such critical matters. And we are privileged and we thank you. To some of the parents and teachers that are online, thank you for the support that you guys provide to the students. It does not go unnoticed. To our CEO, as well as the colleagues at the foundation, thank you for your support and for helping us put together this very, very important debate. And just the final words to the students, please remember always that we are the heroes that Africa needs. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, everyone, and wish you a good day forward.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank
I would
you.
quickly like to add just briefly to all the participants that I'm very proud and grateful that you could attend. Part of this debate isn't just to raise our voices, but to redefine Africa, as Mr. President has mentioned. And to me, I think one of the most important things which we need to discover is that in the Western world, we commonly box things in. We try to define and segregate races. They try to segregate lands and separate people from their homes. For them, it has always been about this square, this rectangle, dividing and separating people, just as how they build an architecture, square shapes and rectangles. But I think through African architecture in itself and through the Thabo Mbeki Presidential Library, which will be built, having roundness, having shapes, having something that not only connects us as a community, but shows that we're not separating ourselves into these boxes. We shouldn't allow ourselves to be separated from our people and from the rest of Africa. What we are doing here today, and which I all commend you for, we're speaking up for ourselves and we're making sure that we are a united Africa. Voting for countries, we're voting for the other African youths which are affected. This isn't just a problem that we face in our country, it's a problem that we face in all African countries, and we should always fight for it. So I would like to ask all of you to keep fighting for our continent, to keep fighting and raising your voices. And I really appreciate all of you coming here today. And thank you again so much, Mr. President. I really appreciated your presence, and we were all very honored for your speech. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Miranda, and goodbye to everybody, and bon appetit.